Welcome to the Life Switch Show. I'm Adam Kavalik, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I was going to say, there was something else I had on my mind, but I blanked out, and Spider-Man is the only thing I came up with. It's a Wednesday, and on Wednesdays we do this live Life Switch Show, which you're tuning into now, and I am super grateful for you being here. I've got a guest today. Her name is Jo Britton. She's a coach, entrepreneur, founder of the Mojo membership, and we are going to be talking about the one thing you need to earn more, achieve more, believe in yourself. All right, let's cut to a small stinger, and I'll bring her in, and we're going to enjoy this episode together. All right, my friends, as I said, my guest today is Jo Britton. She's the founder of Pace Development, certified neurosculpting facilitator. She's a certified coach, certified disc practitioner. She's been a judge for the UK Business Awards, amazing things. She's been the winner of the FL National Awards, finalist in the International Coaching Awards. So she's obviously a recognized coach. She's the originator of the Mojo method and Mojo membership, which is a movement, a community and a membership for people who want to earn more, achieve more, and believe in themselves more without self-doubt and without burning out. Guys, a big welcome to my master colleague in the field of coaching, Jo Britton.
Hello.
Hey, Jo.
Hello, how are you, Adam?
I am fabulous. Thank you for asking. I'm so glad to have you on the show today.
Oh, it's brilliant to be with you. Super excited.
Well, how are you today? Just before the show, you mentioned something that you've been crazy busy today, coaching, working. How are you?
Absolutely full of Mojo spirit today. I've had literally 6 hours of coaching sessions today, which always really fill me with joy and mojo. So yeah, a really great day.
Isn't that funny that you would say that? You've got these 6 hours of coaching and giving and serving and being on your toes, I would imagine, high energy, high spirits, all kinds of things, and still you feel energized. How's that even possible?
Well, because I think it's my passion. It's my passion and purpose. And I think when you're just enjoying what you're doing, your energy is just, well, mine is anyway. It's through the roof. It's when you're doing the stuff that doesn't really fill you, that doesn't, and you're not doing things that are about your purpose, your energy can flag a little bit, and you have to find other ways to fill your mojo cup back up again. So, but coaching is my absolute passion. So, always energized on days like this.
That's amazing. I like that. That's some really sound advice or guidance already in what you just shared, I think. It reminded me of not the last episode, but the episode we had before when we were talking to Sarah Sachs, a career coach, and we talked about passion and if you don't really care about something, it can feel like stress. But when you do care about something, and even if you're working hard on it, it's worth it. You feel passion. And we've got Agata joining live, and anyone else who's joining live today, tell me. Here we go. We've got Annika from Sweden. That's really nice. Wherever you are in the world, please, make yourself known. And also, if you are tuning in on Facebook or YouTube, of course, you can always ask questions in the comment sections. That way, we can pull those questions in, and me and Jo, of course, can then answer those and interact with that. So yeah, it's always a nice experience to have you guys joining live. I'm super grateful for that. So Jo, for anyone who might not know you, I got the pleasure to talk to you in great length yesterday. So I feel like I know you. Could you share a little bit more about yourself, as much as you feel comfortable sharing?
Yeah, why don't I start with a bit of my story to see whether or not any of my experiences people relate to, because actually it's, I think, really important sometimes to share this stuff in a way that maybe people might identify with, because for me, this was something that I held within me and didn't share with other people, and thought there's something wrong with me, and it affected my mojo. So before I had my own business, before I had Pace Development and I was coaching people, I had a corporate career. And from the outside, people, if they looked on the outside, would think she's got it all. She's got it all. She's confident. She's a high achiever. I'd gone through the ranks. I'd reached senior executive leadership positions, director level positions. But inside, I was a bit of a wreck, if I'm honest. So I was full of self-doubt, didn't believe in myself, lacked confidence. And so what happened with me was that I worked myself into the ground. So it was relentless, trying to prove myself all of the time because I didn't feel good enough. I thought at any moment, it's that thing, I think they call it imposter syndrome. At any moment, I'm going to be found out I'm a fraud. So despite being a high achiever, despite, I was always pretty goal orientated, and, I wanted to have this position and then this amount of money and, do all these things and have nice things in life, which I seemed to achieve. Inside, I was absolutely wrecked and racked with self-doubt and a lack of self-belief. And so what actually happened was it manifested in my body and I didn't realize it. So I was relentlessly traveling with my job. So like every single day I worked in a different city in the UK mainly. So I'd get up on a Monday morning, 4 a.m. and get a really early train to London. So I live in Manchester in the north of England. So I get the train to London and I would get into London for about 7:30. And then I would go back to back, probably get no breaks, meeting to meeting, email overwhelm, and get back on the train, get home about 10 p.m., do the same the next day to another city, to Birmingham, to Leeds. And this went on. And then at the weekend, I felt like I had to be superwoman and do everything as well, catch up on all the email, all the stuff I didn't get to do during the week, do the shopping, do the cleaning, all of these things. I had to do it all. I couldn't let go. It was like, a control thing, really, I guess. So what happened was, after a while, I was on going through a lot of change in the organization, and I was on every single change and transformation projects. I got stuff done because I thought I had to prove myself. So I'd worked and I planned for meetings and I will do this and I'll get it done and, achieve. And what happened were a couple of things in combination that collided. A lot of change that was going on that kind of didn't always sit right with me. And I kind of felt it like went against some of my values, I think, at times. And I tried to, I think, maybe be somebody that I wasn't. You try and adapt to your environment sometimes, but it just didn't really feel like. And at points, I didn't really like the person that I was becoming. I'd be the way I made decisions about things or the way I interact. And then I become quite emotional. So I would react to things emotionally rather than respond calmly. And then I'd hate myself afterwards and beat myself up. So that was one thing. So values was like it felt like there was a values clash going on. That was really big. And then also I think things must have caught up with me, but I didn't realize it in here. So the consequence was I was in and out of the doctors for quite some time. It started, actually, it's one of those things that happens. It was a Christmas break. So I'd not had any holidays and I'd been working relentlessly right up until Christmas. And when you slow down, so I did slow down. I had 2 weeks off at Christmas. And then during that time, suddenly I felt I had these really bad heart palpitations and I couldn't catch my breath. And then I started worrying. So I got worse with that. I felt a lot worse with that. So I went to the doctors and because I was so worried about this, I think I was probably quite anxious, but I didn't associate that anxiety. I didn't really know what anxiety was necessarily in that way. And he asked me all these questions about, what do you do for your job? So explain what I did. And he said, that sounds really stressful. That's a really busy job. I was like, He said, I think you're stressed. No, I'm not. I think you're anxious and you're stressed. No. And I kind of ignored all of that. And actually, this is actually probably what was happening. So inside the stories, I'm not good enough, and I'm working relentlessly, and I'm, powering through every single day is not good for the body. And what happens, I discovered later, is that's the fear stress response in action, which was happening over a prolonged period of time. And then I was in and out of the doctors with other things. So I'd get hives on my skin, and I'd get visual migraines. And the doctor kept saying, "You're stressed. Here's some medication for you." So what happened was I was then prescribed antidepressants. But I thought, I'm not depressed, but I took them. And I felt a bit better, if I'm honest. So they review you. So I don't know, like my experience of this was you take a small amount for a month or so, you go back, they say to you, "How are you feeling?" And I say, "Well, it's working a little bit, but maybe not enough." They up the dose, take that for a few more months, and then they want to see you again. And then you go back and they say, "You need to come off them now. You've been on them for a long time." And then I'd panic. And then I'd come off them and the cycle would start. So actually, while I was in this corporate busy job, doubting myself, I then started a relationship with antidepressants. But I didn't really tell people because I felt like, I felt a bit ashamed of that, to be honest. Here I was, I'm Superwoman, I can do all of this stuff, why? So that was kind of the start of the story with, this, I don't believe in myself really, but I'm not going to share that with anybody because I'm a Superwoman, and I'm this high powered corporate executive with a team, people look up to me, like I lead them. And, so that carried on for a little while. And then one day it all sort of collided. And actually I thought, I can't do this anymore. I had an epiphany. Do I want to continue living my life like this? And I'd always secretly had an ambition to run my own business, but I was always scared. I didn't believe that I could do it. Who am I? Who is it? People like me don't have their own business. Ridiculous, right? But that was it. Despite I've got all these qualifications, all this experience, people like me don't have a business. What if you fail? All these stories, the what if that fuels anxiety. So, but anyway, something happened, which I won't share. And I decided I was going to leave that corporate job. But I didn't have a plan. That was not like me. I had always had a plan. I had always had goals that I wanted to achieve. And I just didn't have a plan. I was like, so actually what I decided to do was go back to my values. So I did a lot of work on my values. What really matters to me? What is important to me? And I did an exercise. I don't know whether you've done it or any of your community have done it, to find my ikigai. So
we talked about it.
The Japanese have this wonderful concept, don't they, that it's the key to a happy and healthy life. And for me it was about, so what does the world need? What am I good at? What can I get paid for? And actually I suddenly discovered the things that I was good at in the corporate world was I used to get the most from people and teams. And actually, I think what I was probably doing was coaching people. And I'd been coached and had a brilliant experience of that. It was really, really helpful. So during the corporate part of the career as well, I did actually do some coach certification and training, and I was helping other people. And I just kind of thought, do you know what? I absolutely love doing that. So that's what I'm going to do. Set up a business to do that. And the first year in business was amazing. I surprised myself. It was like, oh my gosh, I can do it. Yay. I believe in myself and I can do it. And then the pandemic hit, and I had all these regular clients, and I had a lot of pipeline, and I had some big contracts coming up. And literally overnight, when the pandemic hit, and here in the UK, when it happened with me, was the 17th of March. So just before we went into lockdown. It is etched in here, because that day I had email after email and phone call after phone call from clients cancelling, postponing, withdrawing. And I literally went from having, yay, I'm great, I can do this, I've got a really full agenda, I've got work, I'm going to grow this year by 30-40%, to nothing overnight. And I spiraled, completely spiraled. My anxiety went through the roof on another level. The heart palpitations that I had, I literally could not get my breath. I couldn't breathe. I was crying all the time, and then I couldn't get out of bed, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I felt really bad because you're a coach. You help people. Why can't you help yourself? Right? So that got even worse. Didn't believe in myself, lost all my confidence. It was horrible. And I had a conversation, and I was got really socially anxious as well, which was not like me. So here was me in a previous life, like corporate career, start my business. I did networking events. I spoke at conferences. You know, I'm an extrovert by nature, so I like to be around people. And I didn't want to speak to anybody. I couldn't show up on Zoom meetings. I didn't even want to talk to my family. You know, it was like I literally was a wreck. And I remember having a forced conversation with my mum, crying again, and saying, I've lost my mojo. And it was more than that. And then I tried to access the doctors. And at that time, they were so overwhelmed with everything, and everything was shut down, and it was priority with COVID and all of that, that I couldn't really get an appointment. So I just had another epiphany, and I thought there has to be another way. You know, this is no coincidence that there's stuff going on in here that is having a massive effect on the way I'm navigating the world every day. You know, the reason I can't get out of bed, the self-doubt, the lack of confidence. So what I decided to do was I've got to help myself. I've got two choices. I either continue living my life this way and on and off anxiety medication and not believing in myself, and that's going to hold me back. You know, it's going to hold me back. I need to make some money. I need to recover my business. And if I don't believe in myself, who's going to believe in me? Who's going to buy things from me? Why are you going to come to a coach that doesn't believe in herself? Okay. So I've got to do the inner work. I need to solve this. And only I can help myself. It's up to me to do it. So what I did was I used my coach tools. I thought, you're a coach, you've got some tools. So I used my coach tools. I researched a ton of stuff on the neuroscience and neurobiology, you know, and these neurochemicals that affect how we wire patterns and stories and beliefs. And I did a ton of stuff on brain nutrition and things like that. And I put myself through my own little boot camp. There was nothing else to do, right? I was locked in the house, had no client work. It was either watch Netflix, eating ice cream, which I've been doing for the last 2 weeks, or I actually helped myself and do some things. So, and it was also about developing some consistent habits as well. So it literally started with, to calm myself, it was gratitude. And that my gratitude, to begin with, was my breath is breathing itself. It was as simple as that. I'm grateful my breath, I've woken up this morning and my breath is breathing itself. And then it was, you've woken up, your breath's breathing itself, get dressed. Get out of bed, have a shower, get dressed. Habit number 2. Then it was, so you can see, I don't know, the lighting's not great at this side, but I'm always somebody that wears makeup, and I'm quite, my trademark's my red lipstick, you know, it's that kind of thing. So it was get dressed, put some makeup on, even though you're not going anywhere, because I'd walk around the house and I looked dreadful. And it was like, I don't like looking at myself in the mirror. And then it was take one single piece of action today. What is it you're going to do? And for some of those days, it was where can I go and find a new perspective? People that have optimism at the moment. Because I was like following all the doom and gloom of the pandemic, the news constantly. It was really bad. It was putting me in a bad spot. Switch that off. Go and find some people that you could hang out with online, even though you don't want to meet with people like on a Zoom, but go and follow some people. Like, so Instagram, I went on Instagram. I've not really been on Instagram before. I'll go on Instagram, and I suddenly discovered these people who, it was like there was no pandemic. you know, they were just getting on with stuff and they were optimistic and delighted. So I kind of connected with them. So I did some of that. And then also, who can you find that inspires you? And there is the story in, well, in the UK, and I think it was worldwide at the time, of Captain Tom, who for his 100th birthday was going to do so many, what was it, steps? Anyway, he raised a shed load of money, didn't he? And I just went, wow, he's like nearly 100 years old, and he was a massive inspiration for me to like, you know, get some stuff. So it was literally doing some things like that, and also to be curious. So, you know, one of the things we might talk about later is this kind of, you know, where our beliefs kind of live that are wired in our limbic brain that, you know, go into overdrive and we access automatically. But our Einstein brain is the thing that we need, our prefrontal cortex, to be productive and healthy and problem solve and creative. And Einstein, prefrontal cortex, loves curiosity and novelty. So how can you think about things in a much more curious way? So if, you know, you had invented the answer to your problem, Jo, in innovating your business, and you were the world's greatest inventor, what would you have invented? Be curious. So all of these things, I started to build habits. And I noticed after about a couple of weeks, I was feeling a lot better. And I was getting my mojo back. So this is where this whole mojo thing starts. So from that created like this structure. And actually I was noticing at the time as well, because of the pandemic, people were, you know, exhausted. You know, there are a lot of women particularly who were trying to hold down really, you know, demanding jobs, essential workers, you know, adapting to change, working from home, looking after the kids, not feeling good enough as a professional, a parent, you know, all of these things. I'm not good enough. I'm really not good enough. And feeling very dysregulated and emotional and very, very stuck. Now, my stuck I had right at the beginning, and I'd come out of it. And what it enabled me to do, finding my mojo and all of these things, was to innovate my business and to move forward. And I launched a podcast, Mojo Matters, a podcast, which got to in the iTunes charts, number 4 in 72 hours. It was like all of these things were happening super quick. So my experience was really early, and I decided to do something about it. And and I navigated more productively. For a lot of people, it's been like this, hasn't it? You know, and for some people, during the early part of the pandemic, they went into like, you know, we've got to get stuff done, and then 3 months later felt exhausted, or, you know, so it's gone like that for people. So I noticed this was happening. So what I decided to do was I created a little challenge out of it. I thought, well, if this has helped me, it might help other people. So I had a Find Your Mojo in 14 days challenge, and it ran 3 times. And suddenly it was quite amazing. People were navigating forward better. And I just thought, this is it. I found my purpose. My purpose and mission is to help millions of people navigate through these challenging times in a productive and healthy way by finding the mojo and keeping it, and using the brain science and all of that kind of stuff in a way that's really going to help serve them, so that they can rewire, you know, release stress, fear, you know, this lack of self-belief and self-doubt. And that's kind of, you know, that's sort of the story. So I'm not sure. And I noticed somebody put something on the screen just then that they had a similar pandemic experience and things like that.
Yeah, we have Agata sharing that it was rather similar to her experience going into, you know, the whole beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Wow, that is definitely a powerful story, and you tell it so well. Like, it's very captivating. I'm very impressed, as you said. You had that experience early on, and you managed to kind of, I don't know if you would use the word take control, but you managed to kind of access your mojo again, and in that you kind of managed to then navigate the rest of this pandemic, the rest of this situation in a much better way. I mean, I like how, I think it's amazing how the first few days, you just had to say, get up, breathe,
Exactly.
shower,
Yeah.
put makeup on, do this, do that. And by the end of it, you're launching a podcast, hitting, top 4 on iTunes,
Yeah.
reinventing your company, your brand, and things just go on from there. That
Yeah.
is an amazing transformation.
I'm quite amazed. Look, it's not easy. I mean, sometimes you paint the picture of like, it's this overnight success, and it isn't. It absolutely isn't. And it's hard, right? And it's hard. And my business is nowhere near where it was, So I've still got quite a way to recover that and grow it. But what's helped me enormously is rewiring the story. Yeah. So I actually now believe in myself, right? The minute I aligned my beliefs to the results that I wanted to achieve, and I started believing in myself, boom, it started happening at super quick speed. Now, things go wrong. Of course they go wrong. Life comes up. You're planning for something. You think this is going to be amazing, it's going to do it. And, stuff happens and it doesn't work out. Or, you think you've got a new client or whatever, and that pulls out. Rather than spiral, which would have been I would have emotionally reacted before. I would have had, I call a Nina nitpicker. So, like people have, you might have your devil and your angel kind of thing. Mine, I call Nina nitpicker, who lives in here, and she never says a nice word about you, right? It's always like, oh, tut, 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 told you couldn't do that. Why have you even tried? All of that kind of stuff. So, but actually, I've got the tools to say, I can hear you, Nina. I hear what you're saying. Thank you for keeping me safe, because that's her job. That's what she's doing. And it is good to have that kind of check and balance. Otherwise, you'd just be sort of doing anything all the time, taking all these risks. So so I now recognize my Nina nitpicker is a good check and balance to keep me safe from making really, really risky decisions. However, what I then say to Nina, and literally say it out loud on the days, it really helps me. So might look crazy to other people around me. Thank you, Nina, for keeping me safe. And now I choose to do this instead. And that conversation with Nina that I have actually takes 10 seconds. In that 10 seconds, it calms the circuits again. It reminds me that you can do this. It's now about, okay, how do we overcome this obstacle? What can I do to overcome this challenge? Because there's always a way to find the solution. So when you have these tools, which is about, self-regulation, emotional regulation, the breath is powerful, isn't it, to do that? Taking 6 to 8 deep breaths. That's why, meditation is very, very powerful. You then can choose what you do next, because you're in a calmer state to respond rather than react emotionally. So, by no means is this a walk in the park. It absolutely isn't. And there are days in my Mojo community that I have, which is, it's about motivation and inspiration. There are days where I feel like I'm not motivated, and people are looking to me as the Mojo leader, the head honcho Mojo, and I'm not feeling motivated. Well, one, I access my tools. So what happens is I'm able to bounce back more quickly. So it's not that you don't have these moments, none of us are perfect. It just means you have tools to be able to bounce back more quickly, and you don't spiral in the same way. And secondly, sharing that with people. It's like, I did an Instagram piece on the day that it took me 5 hours to get motivated one day. And I tried every trick and tool. And I still was like, did that help? No. However, it's about trying different things. And then eventually it got to, I feel a lot better now. So it's just sharing that. So there are lots of ways and lots of tools. Not every tool works for every person all of the time. So it's about thinking about what are the things that work for you and fit with you.
Yeah, so that is important, of course. And as you said, I mean, working at your motivation for 5 hours, I can imagine you going through a couple of different tools to find
Mm.
the right key for the moment. Um, there were so many things that you said in what you just shared where I'd like to go deeper. And I think where I kind of want to start is you mentioned this calming the circuit. How's that? Like, I mean, obviously, because you did research a lot about neuroscience and neuroplasticity, I
Mm.
would imagine.
Yes.
How is that possible? How can you calm the circuit? Like, because you mentioned this conversation you had with Nina. How is that helping? Is there any way you can explain that a bit?
Yeah. So I have two characters that help me understand this, and hopefully it kind of makes it a bit of fun and helps other people understand it. So our so we have a part of the brain, the limbic center, that
Hmm.
you're aware of, yeah? Where, and it's our, in the limbic center, I have a character called Frankenstein. So in the limbic center, and we've got like the amygdala and the hippocampus, and they're kind of working together. And Frankenstein is our life-saving gift. Okay, so the job is to keep us safe and alive, but Frankenstein isn't always the brightest person. So Frankenstein doesn't always differentiate, or doesn't differentiate between, and it's threat, right? It's threat to life. Real threat, like there is a car hurtling towards me and I have to get out of the way. He will save my life in that moment. And how does he do that? He activates the fear stress response, sending the neurochemicals, adrenaline and cortisol, around the body to our vital organs that help us mobilize and move. We don't need to think. We don't want to be thinking in that moment. We have to get out of the way of that car coming towards us. So Frankenstein is super helpful in those moments, but Frankenstein does not differentiate between that real threat to life and perceived or imagined threat. And in this day and age, we are kind of, our stories are those sorts of threats, our beliefs and stories that might not serve us well, but are wired as patterns into the brain and the body, into the nervous system. So those sorts of things are things like, I'm not good enough. I might call them my I am beliefs, right? I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm too old. I'm too young. What if, so I used to catastrophize, probably still do actually, but catastrophize quite a lot. What if I fail at this and then I lose my job or my business and I can't pay my mortgage, and then suddenly I've gone from, I don't know, a client who says, I just can't do next week's session. And then I think, what if they don't like me? And it spirals to I've lost my house, right? Because it's automatic, because it's Frankenstein triggers that. Okay. So the part of the brain that we need to be creative, to problem solve, to have empathy and compassion for ourselves and other people, to set and achieve goals, that happens in our prefrontal cortex, which I call Einstein, or Einstein genius. Okay, so the vital resources, so like blood, oxygen and glucose in our fear state, when we're not believing in ourselves, our what if stories, when Frankenstein is activated, cannot go to the prefrontal cortex at the same time. There's like an inverse relationship of these neurochemicals. So if I want to access my inner Einstein genius to navigate healthily and productively and not in a prolonged anxiety stress state, then I have to flip from Frankenstein to Einstein. And this is entirely possible by calming the limbic center, by calming the circuits, calming Frankenstein down. And a brilliant way to do that is through your breath. And it's free and it's easy, and people don't tell us about this stuff. it is so powerful. So 6 to 8 deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, as if you are breathing through a straw, calms that, shuts off that stress response. When that stress response, and we start bringing our body back to rest and digest, which is the state when everything's okay. And when we're in that okay state, then we can activate and get access to Einstein. He's really going to serve us much better. He's going to help us move forward. So that is an incredibly powerful, easy technique to do, which is why meditation is so powerful.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's the calmness. And I think for me as well, I tried to meditate. I didn't understand the science of it. So for me, I always need to understand. So why, you know, I don't generally take stuff that people say, but this is good for you, do it. I would go, well, why? And I like to understand the science to it. So once I understood this, knowing it helped. Knowing that this is just Frankenstein in action. Knowing that if I breathe properly, I will actually calm that stress center, and actually that's better for my body, and I can activate my Einstein genius, and that's going to help me move forward. So that was massively powerful.
Yeah.
Because this is happening at a nervous system level, right? So, you know, people would say to me, give me well-meaning advice, like, well, you just got to think positively. And I go, right, yeah, okay. If it was that easy, I'd just do it, wouldn't I? Just, you know, and I always say that it's like well-meaning, but such bad advice, because again, from a neurological and neurophysiological perspective, no amount, if you're in a dysregulated, fearful, stressful state, with your I'm not good enough story, activating that. So it's activating the fear response in the same way at the level of thoughts. No amount of somebody or you trying to think positively is going to change that, because it's actually really, really difficult to think positively. You have to know how to do it, because positivity is not hardwired into human beings, whereas negativity or negativity bias is. It's there to keep us safe and alive. So we have to learn how to move towards being more positive. And that starts, for me, it starts with being calm, then activating Einstein, and then saying, okay, what's possible? What's plausible that I could? So language, again, is really important. Not should, but could. What could I do here? And what is possible to help me overcome this challenge, or whatever that is? And once I start thinking about, well, is it possible? Is it plausible to do this? Well, yes, it is, because other people have done it. What could I do then? Well, here's an option that I could do. You start moving towards positivity because you're in a different space. And every single action that you take motivates you. It gives you that hit of dopamine that we need, the reward chemical and all of that. So actually, it's our neurobiology, when we know how to hack it and harness it, that really help me create my I am good enough story, my I have self-belief, because actually the science has helped me understand what's going on in the brain and body, how it's been activating. And as a result of that, I've done stuff, you know, I don't need to take anxiety medication anymore. And I'm not dissing it, by the way, because, you know, if you're in a very, very bad place, then it can absolutely save your life. But I think there are just other tools and other ways that you can also help without having to do that, if that's not for you.
And I appreciate
that answers your question. That went on and on.
Well, no, I think it was really good. Just around the time I asked you the question, we got some comments about that. You know, saying that for someone who has some anxiety attacks or similar responses, being aware of this nitpicking Nina is powerful. And I think the way you described it is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but having that dialogue with your Nina allows you to calm the circuits. And it's
Absolutely.
in that calming that you can sort of regain control, or you can reactivate Einstein, the prefrontal cortex, allowing you to then to tap into focus and emotional control and higher executive thinking and decision making and all kinds of things. That's a brilliant way of explaining it. I think you nailed it.
Yeah, that's absolutely, because you're having that chat in a way, that 10-second chat or however long it takes, as you breathe, you're pressing the pause button. So you're kind of pressing the pause button on your nervous system. For me, this is how I see it. It's like I see and I visualize my nervous system going nuts. I visualize, oh, it's Frankenstein. He's going nuts. He's red hot. He's at the top of the seesaw. And Einstein's down here. So what do I need to do? I need to chat to Nina. I need to take a few breaths. Suddenly the balance changes. And then it's like, I'm okay in this moment. I am safe. So the brain likes comfort, safety, predictability, support, those sorts of things. So even with, how can we bring ourselves back to that and calmness? I have, in this moment, I have access to food, to water, my basic need. I've got a loo to go to. I've got a roof over my head. All of those things that our basic needs are being met if we remind ourselves, which is why I think, without realizing it at the time, my gratitude of my breath is breathing itself, I didn't realize that how powerful that was. But it's because I'm telling my brain, actually, I'm safe in this moment. My breath is doing something predictable and automatic. That's really good for calming the brain circuits. So
yeah. Something that I often do, a kind of a mantra for myself, and it's actually a Chinese proverb, and it is the basis of my coaching, and it's the all you need, you already have. And I often play with that because I kind of like, I have my own personal interpretation of that and connection to it. And I truly believe that. I truly believe that all you need, you already have, because this short and simple answer is you have your breath. As long as there's breath in your body, you have what you need.
I love that.
And it is what I connect to in moments of, as you said, when I kind of tap into gratefulness or gratitude. It's that all I need, I already have. There was something in what you said, something that I really liked, how you got so practical about this, calming the circuits. This is something that I heard from Tim Ferriss, this multipreneur guy who wrote the 4-Hour Work Week. And he actually got this advice from Tony Robbins. So the thing they discussed was, and they wrote this down, or actually Tony Robbins had Tim Ferriss write this down in his journal, and it was state, arrow to the right, state, arrow, story, arrow, strategy.
Right.
Meaning that the state you're in will influence or determine the story you tell. And the story you tell yourself will then influence or determine the strategies available.
Absolutely.
Which kind of like what you said, it's not that easy to just think positively. Because if you're in a state, you're telling yourself a story. That story then limits or unlocks the strategies. So the way to handle that then is break the state, change the story, and update or upgrade your strategies. And I think you just gave a brilliant way in how you can break that state, how you can calm the circuits that way.
Yeah.
And in that, changing the story, even the story in, I'm not good enough, I don't believe in myself. And in that, you then give yourself that wider range of strategies, available actions, what's possible, what's available here to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I think with that story, the storytelling stuff. So, I always see my brain as it's the master storyteller, and it believes what we tell it, what we say. So, and if we've been the author of that story, which we have, then actually we have the power to author a new story. And the story wires harder and faster the more we rehearse it and access it. But mostly we're doing it at a subconscious level, and we're activating it at a level of thoughts, and we don't know we're doing it. So awareness is really, really important, and you can become aware when you're calm in that moment.
Yeah. That's
And
it.
so then it's about, well, what's my new story that's going to serve me better? How do I rehearse and practice that one? Because we practice one, if we practice and repeat and repeat and repeat, it's a new pattern that we created. So we repeat the new, more helpful story and pattern so much, that becomes the one that we automatically access. And I wanted to access the one that I'm amazing. I'm amazing. I'm super confident. I believe in myself. People are going to want to work with me. So that's what I then chose to do. And it is not easy. And it's not that you get rid of all of those stories, right? It's not that they're still there, but they don't have the same emotional charge over me. I recognize it as a story. I recognize it's Nina in action. Flip the switch, so rather than it be, what if I fail at this? It's like, okay, here's Nina trying to keep me safe. What if everything was brilliant? And, you build your big Mojo community and suddenly you're accessing a new path and a new ability to create a new strategy. And then that keeps you motivated. And then, so you're working from a different level of energy.
On that topic, we have a question from one of our viewers, and it's directed to you, Jo. So Sarah Jones asks, I can really relate to that, the whole panic in cold England last March. So what did you do first to rebuild your business, Jo? Can you talk to that a bit?
I did a number of things, actually. Excuse me. So partly it was I've discovered through my experience and finding my mojo that, and then just out of my passion and a sense of purpose that I wanted to help other people, that I could try and create, I created what I call the Mojo method and the Find Your Mojo in 14 Days challenge. And then it was like, but I don't have any customers to give it to, I don't think. So then it was, how do I build an audience for this? And it was like, this was out of my comfort zone. So I hopped onto Instagram and stuff. But there was two really powerful things that I did, despite having financial difficulty. I made a massive commitment and investment in a mentor who was a few steps ahead of me, who'd been scaling, scaled 2 or 3 businesses, but also was 26 years old as an entrepreneur, because different perspective, optimism, drive, ambition, and just refreshing, but also could do the things that I couldn't do and was already doing them. So, I took a leap of faith, to be honest, with money I probably didn't really have and he's been absolutely amazing. So, having a mentor and also being part of a community of optimistic people and business owners was massive for idea sharing, it's lonely being a business owner as well. And, who do you go to? Like in the corporate world, you had departments that would help you, like whether that's IT or whether it's HR or whatever. When you set up your own business, it's just you doing everything. And it's like, I don't know all this stuff. And who do I get help with? And, so being part of a community of other people was massively helpful. People that you could just ring, hop on a call with or whatever. And in the moments where you're not feeling it, and they can chiv you along. So it was probably those things that helped me rebuild. But also, I maybe it's still wired within me. Out of joy and pure passion, I have worked a lot as well. I've been committed and consistent to help, find new customers, reach out to people. Things don't always go to plan. Things that you think are going to work don't work, and then it's been a case of, what have I learned, right? So it's always a case of, every day I do a end of day download of what's the day been like, a reflection, what went well, what not so well. So what have I learned that I can take forward and apply to the business tomorrow? are super helpful to keep iterating. So I'm a big believer in test, learn, iterate, apply, and just keep doing that. Keep doing that. And actually, the more action you take and the more consistent you are, the more you apply learning, the quicker it gets for you. So really, those were the sorts of things that I did that helped me kind of innovate. So get a mentor, be part of a community, test and learn stuff, create an offer, get it out there, even though it was not perfect, it was untested. But actually what I did do is kind of did it quite cheap, if I'm honest, because I don't know if it was going to work. I knew it worked for me, but I needed to, help. And with my passion, I just needed to help people and make that accessible. And it worked. So I think it's also about, like, with rebuilding my business, was also about finding my real sense of purpose with this, because it fills me with so much joy and passion that I'm just on a mission. It's the Mojo movement mission now to help people. And that in itself has helped me innovate things, because it's like, how do I get to more people? How do I, it's always like, I need to get to more people. How am I going to do it? With energy and passion, because it fuels me and it fuels my mojo, rather than it be with, I don't know what I'm going to do. You suddenly get courage when you do that, I think, as well. You feel more confident and, you feel courageous doing it.
When you tap into your passion or you find your mojo?
Or both of those things, I think. Yeah. I think passion and purpose are massive. So I come back to, what are my values? So I always go back to, if I'm struggling, my values are about being kind, supportive, generous meaning, like, with, do I have knowledge I can be generous with? Do I have skills that I can be generous, time that I can be generous with? So whenever I'm not feeling it, I always go back to, is this fitting with my values? Yes, it is. Unleash the inner values, use those. Then it's about, you just know this is, I feel like I have passion and purpose for this. So then I take more courageous decisions around things, because I just feel like this matters so much. It matters so much to me, and to bring it to other people, that actually the need and nitpicker goes away a little bit as well. So I'm a bit more courageous and I keep taking action. And so I don't think there's like really been a magic formula as such. I think it's about finding your edge within you. So what is your energy? When are you at your best? How do you harness those strengths and skills and talents that maybe you know about, but maybe you don't? And if you don't know about them, who can you work with, like a coach, like yourself, Adam, who can help you tap into that stuff and ask you purposeful questions that are going to challenge you in a supportive way, but are going to help you move forward and take action?
I mean, the tips and the techniques that you've been sharing today are just golden, I think. The way you reply to the question, what was the first thing you did to reinvent your business and get it back up? I think it was just brilliant. I think the power of the community, having someone to support you along the way, consistency, trying things out. Something that I heard you saying that, which I really think is quite smart these days, something that I call the smallest viable version. Like, as quick as possible, you get something out there and you test it, right? The smallest viable, the thing that might have some essence of survivability or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Get it out there, try it out, use the feedback, use the data, and change, adapt, tweak, make it into something that people do want to, they ask for. And you only get to that place by testing it out. And I think that it's just brilliant how you managed to share those really powerful tips.
Thank you.
Okay, so maybe you've already answered this. There is something about this mojo, I'm thinking. How do you help people find their mojo? Like, and maybe this is the whole process, as you said, believing in yourself, aligning with your values, aligning with passion and purpose. What else is there that we might not have mentioned around mojo?
So I did a lot of thinking around this, so it's now become a method, right? And a model, actually, the Mojo method, harnessing the things that I think that you need. So for me, my definition of Mojo is your motivation, your energy, your enthusiasm, so that you've got the ability to bounce back from setbacks, to take action, to do it in a productive, healthy way. For me, that's definition of Mojo. So what did that mean in terms of the things you need to harness? So M in Mojo is motivation. How do you find your motivation and sustain it? Because that's really, really important. So for me, I use tools and use the brain science around the neurobiology of motivation and what it means and how you can hack it. And, are you somebody that moves towards things or away from things, and set your goals and action accordingly, and don't fight your neurochemistry around that? It's like, how do you do that? And every time you take a bit of action, you're going to get the dopamine hit, the reward hit. And so it's about, for some people, it's about being motivated is about you might work best if it's last minute and you need that pressure. Don't fight against that if it is. If that's the kind of person you are, because there's like a set of neurochemicals working together in a synergistic way in a range for people, but everybody's sweet spot is slightly different. So if that is you, don't fight it, because that's probably your neurochemicals going, this is how I'm going to be most motivated. Whereas if you're highly anxious with last minute, then maybe what you need to do is give yourself a bit more time to plan and to break things down into much smaller milestones along the way, so that you're not overwhelmed and stressed. So that's M, motivation. Then it was about, navigating problems and challenges. So O in Mojo is overcoming obstacles. And I see obstacles in two ways. So I see them as there are external events that might happen and come up. So you can think about those and plan for them. What might happen? And so if that happens, what is it that I'm going to do? So it's not a shock, But the second obstacle really is the bigger stuff, which is the stuff that goes on in our head, right? And that might be, I know if I'm going to try something new, I might be afraid that I'm going to fail. So if that comes up, what is my strategy that's going to help me be aware that this is my story playing, and how am I going to counter that? So it's always about identifying obstacles that might come up and how am I going to overcome them by having a proactive approach for it. Then J is in Mojo is, we talked about it before, joyful possibility and positivity. So how do I navigate towards, if I'm in a negative space, one, it's about being aware, then how do I navigate towards it? Well, actually, it's about thinking about what's possible. What are the options? What could I do? And then O, the final O in Mojo is oomph, action taking, right? So what am I going to commit to doing? What actions am I going to take to go forward? And actually, how committed am I? Because, and I give myself a score out of 10, because if I'm committed, I will do whatever it takes. Whereas if I'm just sort of interested in doing it, I'll do what's convenient. And therefore, if it's not convenient, I'm not really going to do it. So that's the Mojo method. And then there are steps to take. And the most important first step is regulating your nervous system. So how do I calm Frankenstein, and how do I activate Einstein, and how do I, navigate the path forward by, what's my vision? What is my plan? What skills and knowledge do I need? And actually, how do I execute this? My ability to execute, again, comes down to in here.
Wow, that's
so that's kind of the way it works.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. What a powerful model and method that you've managed to put together, and it really did clear up. I mean, not necessarily clear up, but it did bring some clarity to the Mojo statement. Like, find your Mojo, work with your Mojo, tap into it, and it's a powerful one. I really honor you for doing that work. It's brilliant.
Thank you.
So I've got a last question for you. We're coming up on the hour today of this show. And before I ask you the final question, where can people connect with you if they want to get a piece of that mojo, maybe finding their own? You've mentioned many great resources or ways for this, but how do they actually connect?
So I mostly hang out, I think it's on the screen, on Instagram. So if you want to give me a follow, I'm jobritton.mojo on Instagram, and in my bio there's a link to like free stuff. If you follow that, I've got like a download on how to get your mojo back, and I often do masterclasses on how to do all of this stuff as well. So give me a follow. And also what I would say is I'm all about serving and helping people. So please reach out, especially do not sit there feeling, oh, I can't speak to that person, or I've got a problem, and sit feeling isolated. Jump in my DMs. I answer every single DM. Do it free. People, whatever. I just want to help people get their mojo back.
That's amazing. And you've got a podcast as well, Mojo Matters.
Mojo Matters, there it is. That my podcast. So we have incredible guests, and you'll be joining me on that as well. We've got something great, I think, that's going to come up on that, Adam. So different life perspectives on people that have faced life challenge and how they've overcome it, just to provide some inspiration and hope for other people. Plus tools and techniques on mojo related stuff and how to achieve your goals and all of that kind of thing.
That's amazing. And I just want to say that again for anyone who's listening. You should definitely connect with Jo on Instagram. And as she mentioned, click the link in the bio. There's plenty of free stuff there. One I'm going to be going and downloading is how you kind of find your mojo, or you awaken this. I think that's just fantastic, especially about, based on what we've talked about today, the power of doing this work. I think it's brilliant. So the last question I kind of wanted to ask you, which is a standard question I do tend to bring up at the end of these interviews or conversations. So if you have like 15 minutes, or you've got a microphone to the world, and you have this opportunity to share your message, that one piece of advice or thing you want to say, and everybody's listening, what would that be?
Well, it's your mojo matters an awful lot, but actually what that really means for me is winning your inner game. Okay, so winning your inner game for me is all of this stuff about crafting the stories, the beliefs that are going to serve you well and propel you forward, that are going to help you take inspired action rather than expire you like they may do. So doing your inner work is like massively important to navigate life, to navigate your business if you have one, all of those things. Work on. So these stories that may have come from traumatic experiences that we've had throughout life, especially when we were younger, those traumatic, I didn't actually think mine were traumatic experiences. I associated trauma with these huge things that happen, but actually, those events that we experience in a fearful state have mapped our stories and beliefs, that don't serve us, and we're not aware of them, but we bring them to our business if we have one, to our relationships, to all of those things. So winning your inner game actually is number one priority. If you want to earn more, achieve more, and believe in yourself more, then you have to win your inner game first.
That's so beautiful. That's such a perfect way of saying this and kind of wrapping things up. It's almost like a full circle. That's beautiful. Perfect. Thank you very much, Jo, for sharing your personal story, your switch in life, and also the switch in your business, and all the tools and the techniques and the ideas that you've been developing for yourself and your community. I really honor you for doing this work and this service, this generosity that you're obviously displaying.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show. Let me be on your show. It's been amazing. Great talking to you.
No, it was amazing. So thank you very, very much, Jo. And again, for anyone who's watching, do not hesitate to connect with Jo. And as she said, DM her, write her, just connect and have those conversations. I think you're definitely onto something. It's a great mission. It's a great movement you're putting together, Jo. And I wish you all the best in this endeavor of yours. So
thanks so much, Adam.
Thank you very much. Right. I hope you enjoyed that. I really did. It was definitely a powerful conversation. I think Jo did an amazing job in sharing her story, her techniques, and so practical ideas on how you can kind of bypass and hijack the Frankenstein mind of yours that can sometimes sabotage. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you tune in next week. We're going to show up here on a Wednesday, 6 p.m. UK time. And if you're watching on YouTube, do not forget to like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell. That way you get updated every time we go live and we put anything else out there. Also, if you're on Facebook, you can follow my page, Adam Kabalik, business coach, and there you can get notified as well. You can join these lives over there as well. All right, guys, thank you very much for showing up today. I really appreciated it. It was a powerful conversation. I'm glad you kept it alive. So I'll catch you next week. Enjoy your Easter if that's something that you're celebrating. See you next week.